Marvel Zombies, Protagonist becomes world's strongest hero. Episode 81, Who are you? She stared at the small fire phoenix with a high temperature in front of her and asked. Yibai was observing that when the other party cast a spell, he had already detected that the magic power surging around the other party's body was not ordinary magic power, and the source was not a different dimension, but little Loli herself. In the Marvel 7th Firmament universe, there is no magic, which is eliminated by the universe itself or the eternity of the five gods, which is not conducive to the development of the universe and is outdated. Nowadays, the power used by magicians is basically borrowed from some beings in different dimensions, such as the ancient gods, such as the power of hell or heaven, which is the saying that casting spells costs a price. You borrow the power of others, people naturally have to charge interest with you. Little Loli is different, her power comes from herself, that is, that kind of magic can be made casually, as long as there is still magic. Don't play out of the magic to blow yourself up out of control, magic basically wants to use it, there is no use price. Me? An interested passerby. As the flame phoenix spoke, the temperature gradually decreased, its body size changed, and the flames gradually dimmed. When the flames completely disappeared, a blonde woman with purple eyes and purple skirt appeared on the spot. It was Yibai's purple doll. You can call me Z, little girl, you are not a native of this universe. Little Lori said noncommittally, maybe it is, maybe it isn't, who knows. Her little adult-like posture made Yibai more sure that Lori's appearance was not equal to Lori's age, which was common in crossers. Yibai smiled dumbly, don't be nervous, I'm not malicious. Seeing that you are also a user of magic, I have a lot of magical knowledge here, maybe I can exchange it. Yibai can only enchant alchemy and Olympus in the occult, but it doesn't matter. Wanda in his pocket space has focused his attention on Yibai's side, ready to take over the control of the doll Z in his place and discuss magic with little Lori. In doing so, he was curious about the other party's strength, and wanted to get it to enrich his own occult support reserves, and took this opportunity to test this little Loli more. You want my knowledge? That depends on the value of your knowledge. Little Lori did not refuse, she was eager for all the new knowledge she had not touched, and in her opinion, knowledge was priceless. Yibai smiled and took out a copy of the magic book, which recorded the basic theory of the Karma-Taj school, although it did not record a single magic, but elaborated on this system. He controlled the puppet Z to hold the book out of thin air and send it to the other party. This is the basic common sense of my magic here, you can take a look first. Loli was very cautious, she did not use her hand to take it, but chanted a spell casting, and directly summoned a small demon from hell across dimensions. The little demon was less than a meter tall and had horns and blue skin on its head. As soon as it was summoned, it was forcibly enslaved by Lori's magic, and she let this demon read the book instead of herself. The other party's hand made Yibai's eyes look at him, casually summoning alien dimensional creatures, and he was not blocked by the dimensional barriers of the three major temples of the sanctuary, which showed the power of this magic. The little devil quickly flipped through the book, and Loli understood it simultaneously. She was sure that this magical knowledge was indeed a department, and she was very interested. Okay, we can do the waiting. Lori agreed to Yibai's knowledge exchange. She has never been resistant to new knowledge, ever. I don't trust you, we need to sign a contract. She didn't trust Yibai, Yibai didn't trust her, and she didn't trust the other party's contract. It is indeed necessary to sign the contract, I can find a guarantee. Yibai used the Black Phoenix as a springboard to connect with Sister Phoenix and inform her about this. Sister Phoenix was happy to help, so a vast wool landed on this lace-covered princess-style bedroom out of thin air. The terrifying wool is like a tidal wave, once it comes, it will fix the time and space of the entire universe, and only the time in this room is still flowing normally. Loli was directly frightened by this will and collapsed on the bed, trembling and covered in cold sweat. On the other hand, looking at Yibai's puppet purple, many hexagonal positions around her body flickered brightly and darkly, blocking the phoenix will, and she didn't feel anything at all. This will comes from an ancient being, who is the embodiment of the emotions and life of the universe, who brought life to the universe, and whose transactions will be guaranteed by him. Yibai introduced the shivering Loli. Loli sat up with fear, looking around with fear, she did not see the owner of this will. In terms of feeling, the other party is more like the concept itself, magnificent and boundless. I am afraid that without the essence of the body, the will alone can be twisted and destroyed the entire universe. Such a great power, she has never seen it, let alone seen it, she has never heard of it. In comparison, the so-called gods in some worlds she has been to are probably not even ants. Under the will of the Phoenix, a contract was drawn up by the Phoenix and passed into Lori's body. Well, this contract is unilateral, only restricts Lori, and does not work at all for Yibai. Phoenix did not break this point, nor did it specify it in the contract. But Lori believed that such an existence would not deceive her, and in her opinion, such a great power did not need to be difficult for such a small brigade mage as her. The Phoenix will disappeared, and the contract was deep with the lowly soul. so that Loli could not leave anything unfavorable to Yibai's knowledge exchange. As long as she dared to do so, she could be burned to ashes by the phoenix flame in an instant. Similarly, this contract will also measure the value of knowledge on both sides, and if Loli gets knowledge from Yibai, she must also come up with equivalent knowledge, otherwise she will also be burned to ashes. With this contract, Yibai generously took out a large number of copies of magic books in his magic library, enough to pile up half of the bedroom. Rao is so, these books are only 1% of the books in the library. Seeing that he took out the magic book that had piled up half of the bedroom out of thin air, little Lori was dumbfounded. Seeing Loli dumbfounded, Yibai smiled brightly. These books are 1% of the total magic books I have there, and they have a contract to measure the value. Now it's up to you. The dumbfounded Loli looked tangled, and she felt that she might be pitted. Not knowledge, but quantity. If the other party said that there were really so many magical books, wouldn't he be burned by a fire as long as he kept going out to get the books, and when he couldn't change them? Helplessly, she could only take the initiative first receiving the many books Yibai took out into her carry-on space, and then reproducing all the magic books in her carry-on space into a magic book with magic and taking it out. This book is all the knowledge I have. The contract measures its value is equivalent to 50 times the value of those books you just had. I hope you can exchange it equally. Don't come up with something more than it is worth, otherwise I can't afford it. Episode 82. At this time, Yibai also saw that this Loli was not the kind of traverser who was familiar with the plot, and did not embarrass her, and she completed the transaction normally and the contract ended. Sensing that the contract in her soul disappeared, little Loli breathed a sigh of relief. She was really worried that the other party would pit her, but fortunately there was none. Little Loli, who has gained a lot of new knowledge, is excited, so much knowledge, enough for her to learn for a long time. Yibai manipulated the purple puppet and asked her, "You haven't introduced yourself yet. What is your name? Where did you come from?" Little Lori said, "My full name is Veronica Lilith Guvia Knoll." Her name was so long that it took a minute to finish reading. "You can call me Veronica directly. I am from the continent of Farron, and my father is the god of literature, Denier." Yibai. He was speechless about the long name of the little Loli. It was simply too anti-human. Then he focused on the identity of the other party. The story of the Faeluan continent is also a story framed by the D&D system. Yibai saw some before crossing over, and just happened to know the god of literature. He resides in the realm of the Temple of Knowledge and is regarded as a neutral and good-natured deity, whose priesthood is carving, drawing, literature, writer, and cartography. His followers are mostly scholars, secretaries, sages, and seekers of knowledge. Throughout their lives, Denier and his followers searched for the final scroll, convinced that it contained all the mysteries of the multiverse and would give the life reading it the ultimate divinity. He also did have a brilliant demigod daughter named Veronica. Unlike her father, Veronica is also interested in the final text, but she is more interested in the knowledge of different worlds and humanities, and she is used to experiencing life in various worlds, so she considers herself a demigod-level traveling mage. In order to keep the beautiful scenery of different worlds in her heart and show them anytime and anywhere, she learned a lot of magic, and if necessary, she can change the surrounding environment in the form of mirages. Is magic weak in illusion? In fact, it is not weak at all. The illusion system contains shadows, and the shadow spells in them can simulate the magic of other systems, such as plastic energy system, destruction system, summoning system, etc. It can be said that in addition to the prophecy system, spell system, enchantment system cannot be simulated, other magic can be simulated, but the power will be one level lower. And the illusion system itself is not weak. Look at the names of these spells, and you can know: invisibility, illusion, phantom sound, phantom killer, dream building, prevention detection, mirage, nightmare, resident phantom, camouflage, phantom form, shadow phase travel, eternal phantom. Several of these spells are interesting, such as the eternal apparition, which produces a semi-real phantom that is realistic enough to move, speak, and pose, but cannot attack and cast spells. If you don't lift this magic, it will last forever. The power of illusion magic is not reflected in the destructive power, but the degree of treachery. Often against this existence, the enemy will be like falling into a horror movie scene. The real illusionist can scare people to death. Veronica is not a master of illusion, but she is stronger. She is a demigod. Her own priesthood plus the hobby of traveling in different worlds make her well informed, and complement each other to make her illusion attainment higher. Although the legendary spell is not released casually, but give her a little time can also be released. The spirit level spell of the 10 rings will also be several. Now, all the knowledge she had mastered was condensed into the magic book with countless pages and traded to Yibai. Yibai's own magical talent and Natasha's, with the poor qualifications of the two, learning the 6-ring spell is also up to the sky. But Wanda is different. Wanda's talent is even the great demon King Sithorn, and it is simply suitable for her to learn this knowledge. Once there are more means, Wanda will not often use the power of Sithorn to cast spells to reduce shortcomings and avoid losing control. Knowing that the little girl's true identity is Veronica, a demigod from the Farron continent, Yibai completely relaxed her heart. Veronica, this is a powerful magical but harmless mushroom. Although she looks only 3 years old, in fact, it is just a disguise after people come to this world, and her actual age is at least long live. Yibai is more curious, how did the other party come from the D&D multiverse worldview to Marvel? But considering that they can cross it, maybe people have some adventures. In order to let her family have a magic side super talent, the puppet Purple did not hesitate too much and invited her. Do you want to come to my house as a guest? Where is your home? Veronica also saw that the puppet Purple was not malicious, and her guard was not as strong as it was at the beginning, and her exploration of the unknown reoccupied her heart. The pocket space I opened up is about the size of the planet under our feet, connecting different universes. Puppet Z explained. Hearing that different universes were connected, Veronica only hesitated slightly, and driven by curiosity, she nodded and agreed to the invitation of the puppet Purple. Although she can also cross by herself, she has to be weak for a long time each time. The world is far and near, and the period of weakness varies from 1 year to 100 years. Crossing into this world undoubtedly made her very weak, otherwise he would not have been so guarded when facing the fire phoenix that suddenly appeared at the beginning. It is conservatively estimated that she will have to be weak for 100 years before she can return to full victory, during which time she will not be able to continue to cross. Therefore, when she heard that Yibai's family connected various universes, she would be moved. At the moment she agreed, she successfully bound to Yibai's pocket space and became a new resident. And she herself was not aware of this. Before Yibai successively borrowed the abilities of Emma, Dark Phoenix, and Wanda, the three of them paid attention to Yibai's activities outside, and knew that Stark's adopted daughter was not simple, and now Yibai took her to the pocket space orchard, and the three of them walked out of the castle and came here. Yibai introduced the two sides, and then handed Wanda the magic book that he had previously traded with Veronica. No, a gift for you. Being given a gift, Wanda's eyes narrowed into a beautiful crescent, and she took the book in surprise, and took a sip on Yibai's face to express her love for this gift. It turns out that you are the essence, and the one before was a puppet. Veronica suddenly realized. Yibai nodded to her. Your wife is very nice. If I can, I want to take her as a student, is that okay? Veronica pointed at Wanda and asked Yibai. Apparently she saw Wanda's incredible magical talent. Her words made several people present have strange expressions, and a lowly who looked only 3 years old on the outside said that she wanted to accept Wanda, who was about 20 years old in appearance, as a student, which felt simply incongruous. Seeing the expressions of several people, Veronica added, according to the time of the earth, I am more than 20,000 years old, don't underestimate me, everyone. How do you answer this? Episode 83. Today, Yibai's pocket dimensional space is very large, and its area is larger than the Earth's land plus ocean area. However, there are not even 20 households here, and there are few people and large territory, so it is not suitable to say that the land is vast and sparsely populated. More than a year ago, when Yibai was still on Paradise Island, he picked an area to modify reality to create an ocean and beach, which was convenient for everyone to experience the fun of the ocean, sand, and cruise ships in their pocket space. But compared to the world of Noda, it is also somewhat insignificant. As a result, most of the world is wasteland. When Veronica was taken to visit here, she saw so much wasteland, she felt that the land resources were wasted. You guys are too wasteful of space. If I were you, I would go to a doomsday world to find survivors to immigrate and make this place prosper. Or find a god who is proficient in the way of life and let him come here to create life. To be honest, Yibai and the others really wanted to make this place prosperous, but that was not a goal that could be achieved in a short period of time. Don't look at the large area here, but the maximum population of the space is only 20 people. Although Yibai can make alchemy dolls, and Wanda's modification of reality can make alchemy dolls truly become people, compared to the whole world, you can't expect the two to do nothing and create people here. How long will it take? Black Phoenix's phoenix power changes the environment and creates life is not difficult, but Yibai does not want to fill his world with too many creations under the power of the phoenix, which will make the will of the phoenix sister spread in, although people may not be interested in his world, but it is certain that he is very interested in himself, so Yibai will not let the black phoenix change too much here. Now, Veronica said that it is a good idea to find a survivor from the apocalyptic world to enrich the population here, and you can consider doing so when the population ceiling is high in the future. Which one to choose in the apocalyptic world? The zombie hero universe can't work, it's also the Marvel worldview. What if you make a similar Flashpoint paradox? So he can only find it from the universe outside of the Marvel worldview, and he thinks of Resident Evil, 2012, The End of the School, The Walking Dead, Prophet and the like. In terms of popularity, Resident Evil is the highest in the world, Yibai said. I know a world where the end of the world also breaks out of zombie crisis, but the zombie virus over there is not strong. Wanda and Emma heard that it was another zombie virus-infested universe, and they were very repulsed by a similar virus. Dark Phoenix didn't care. Veronica looked very interested. Veronica has traveled through many worlds in the past, and a very few have had apocalypse, but the apocalypse from the plague has not. Although the harm of the plague is great, the spread of the plague in ancient times is also limited, and in the modern era of advanced science and technology, people have enough understanding of the plague and have preventive measures. There may be worlds truly destroyed by the plague, but Veronica has never seen it. Her curiosity is so strong that she will naturally be interested, such as one. At this time, several people sneaked all the way to the beach of the pocket space, the ring of the people, waved to create beach chairs and umbrellas, and took out youth juice and youth wine. A few people sat down, and Yibai said to them, I made a movie about the story of that world, do you want to watch it? As soon as he said this, Wanda, Phoenix, and Emma all came with great interest, nodding repeatedly. The last time they watched Yibai's Man of Steel they felt interesting, and they could experience it the next time, naturally they would not refuse. And Veronica, although she is a demigod-level brigade mage, she is also a scientific talent, and she is no stranger to movies. She has been to many worlds, many of which are technological, such as the place where the story of Detective Conan takes place, where Veronica attaches her body and soul to Ayako Suzuki, the great golden of the Suzuki Foundation, and experiences her life. In other words, she knew the finale of Conan's story. It's a pity that Yibai doesn't know that she knows, otherwise he has to ask what she knows, to satisfy his curiosity, and by the way, to appease the dissatisfaction of watching from the age of elementary school in his previous life, seeing that he has crossed and there is no finale. The topic is far away. Seeing that everyone is interested, Yibai used the Sage's ring to project the first part of the Resident Evil movie in front. I won't talk about the content. After watching it, several people were curious about the plot behind, and Yibai simply put the next few films in his head. Several people watched all the biochemical movies from 10 a.m. to 8 o'clock in the evening. Outside, Stark Manor at this time has become a pot of porridge, caused by Veronica Stark's disappearance. The maid initially found that Veronica was not in the manor, panicked and searched, looked for half a day but did not find. Helplessly notified the employer Tony Stark of this matter. Stark learns that his adopted daughter has been lost, and he can't take care of the work at hand and hurries home. Tony liked his adopted daughter very much, and when her adopted daughter disappeared, he used all the contacts he could use to find out, and the search notice was sent. It wasn't until 9 o'clock in the evening that Veronica returned on her own. Tony came up to her for the first time and asked her where she had been all day. Veronica is a very intelligent loli. She fools Tony in a few words, making the other party believe that she only accidentally hit her head in an inconspicuous corner of the manor and fell unconscious, so that no one found her. In order to complete the lie, she also made a small wound on her head. She was only 3 years old, and no one doubted her words, so she fooled her. Yibai's doomsday population migration plan was eventually put on hold, mainly because the magic cabin pocket space has a maximum population limit, currently holding up to 20 people, and it is impossible to migrate more people in. He once asked about the finale system and got the answer that pocket space needs to reach LV5 to lift the population limit. A new day begins. Today, Yibai came to Iowa, and on the grounds that he was bored and looked at the timeline and found that Natasha was here. It is not Natasha of the Yibai family, but Natasha of the movie universe. In order to distinguish between the two, Nat is used later to describe Natasha in the cinematic universe. This nickname method is very popular in Europe and the United States, such as the names Natasha and Natalie. The default nickname is Nat, transliteration, Night. Another example is Catherine, whose nickname defaults to Kate, transliteration, Kate, such as Kate Beckinsale, the English Rose who played the heroine of Legend of the Night. Her real name is Catherine Bailey Beckinsale, and she used the name Kate after becoming an actress. Nat has had a bad time recently. She has been defecting from the Red House to Country M for 2 years, and in the past 2 years, she has changed her appearance in Los Al West Hollywood to live a low-key life under the pseudonym Audrey to avoid being found by the organizers. At first, life was good, although the life of ordinary people was dull. She liked this feeling very much, until 2 months ago, her whereabouts were exposed. The Red Room launched the Ice Pick plan, and the pursuers came one after another, and she alone could not steal the entire organization, and could only go into exile. Until a day earlier, she had fled to Iowa. Episode 84. This morning, Iowa is shrouded in clouds that could rain at any time. In a restaurant in a certain city, Nat sits by the window of the restaurant and eats breakfast absent-mindedly. At this time, she is not the classic Black Widow image. She wears a black wig and a silicone mask on her face that is enough to fake the real thing, which makes her look without the slightest resemblance to her original appearance. During this period of hiding, her financial situation was somewhat tight, and she was considering whether to do her old job, go to guest commercial espionage to break into the upper social circle, meet some scientific and technological personnel, steal technical secrets, and sell these technologies to make money. This is a bit risky, and it is easy to attract Xia Lu's whereabouts to chase and kill, and she has not yet made up her mind. At this time, a man walked in at the entrance of the restaurant. He ordered a hamburger plus milk plus ham for breakfast, and sat down opposite Nat with the food very cooked. "Don't mind if I'm sitting here?" the man asked Nat. Nat glanced at the other and pointed to an empty table next to him. "There is an empty seat there. The implication is that I don't mind the other person sitting here." Yi Bai turned his hand as if magically, conjured a photo, and put it on the table. "Do you know the person in the photo? She thinks you might be in trouble lately and asked me to come to you." Nat glanced at the person in the photo, who she did know. During her time in West Hollywood and Los Angeles, she assumed the name Audrey, and there she met a red-haired female neighbor who was about 20 years old. Coincidentally, the other party's name is also Natasha. In life, the other party gave him a lot of help. It wasn't until her whereabouts were revealed not long ago. She was surrounded during a firefight with the former organization, and fortunately the friend showed up to help. She escaped with the blood, and after that day, she never saw the friend again. Her friend named Natasha was naturally the one in Yi Bai's family. Natasha knew that Nat was her own homotype, and although the two looked different, they were the same people with similar identities in the past, and it was not an exaggeration to say that they were the same sick, so she helped Na. Natasha's help makes Nat wonder. Even now, she didn't figure out why the other party would help herself. Looking at the skills and marksmanship she showed that day, she was obviously not an ordinary person. Since leaving Los AC West Hollywood, she has felt that this matter is not over. Sure enough, the other party's people found her today. This made her guarded, her right hand subconsciously tightened, and the widow under her sleeve was ready. "Who are you? Or who are you? What purpose is there in approaching me? Don't be nervous." Yi Bai pointed to the photo on the table, and then said, "Natasha didn't mean to approach you, she just happened to meet you, and she never tried to get anything from you." "What about you?" Nat asked. "Oh, forgot to introduce myself, I'm Yi Bai, Natasha's friend, the major shareholder of Marvel Technologies. Have you heard of the company?" Nat nodded. Did she hear that anyone in this era had not heard of it? In the past 2 years, Marvel has successively produced many new technologies and even innovated computer technology, laid optical fiber networks throughout the United States, built mobile communication towers covering North America, and even developed. The mobile phone that Nat uses today is the third-generation fruit machine of Marvel Technologies. Hearing that it was Marvel, Curtin surprised Nat. "Is this shareholder too young, 20 years old? There's a job here, long-term, interested?" Yi Bai asked her. "I don't trust you, I need to talk to Natasha," Na said. Yi Bai shrugged and reported Natasha's phone again. Nat out of the phone, direct dial. A few seconds later, the phone was connected, and Natasha's voice came from inside. "I'm Natasha, who is it?" "It's me, Audrey. There's a guy named Yi Bai in front of me. He claims to be a major shareholder of Marvel Technology. Do you know him?" Nat asked. Natsha, who has been a neighbor for 2 years, still has a certain degree of trust. At least in those 2 years, the other party did not plot anything against her, and she also hoped that the other party would still be her friend, not have any purpose. The other end of the phone was silent for a few seconds before Natasha's voice came from the earpiece. "You said that guy. That's a playboy who wanders around all day doing nothing, basically harmless. You can trust him, you can use him, at least he is rich." Yi Bai's ear power is excellent. Hearing Natasha's voice on the phone, he is very speechless. Playboy, he recognizes this, but what is, can also use him. Is this what my own people say? Natasha hung up the phone after a few simple words. She stared at Yi Bai on the opposite side and said, "Talk about what kind of work, and pay. I need a private secretary on the surface, but actually a bodyguard in private, and I think you're a good fit. As for the remuneration, you can open it casually, you can pay first." Yi Bai said that he was not short of money. 1 year, $500, paid in one lump sum. "If my identity is discovered by the organization halfway through, I will leave." Nat has the attitude of running away once his identity is exposed, but his salary will not be returned to you. Yi Bai didn't care about this, nodded and agreed. "Okay, transfer, or cash? Or hard currency? I want diamonds." And he said, "I'll give it to you when I get to New York." Yi Bai agreed. $5 million of diamonds, a small pocket can fit, just right for someone like Nat. If the cash is not easy to carry, if the transfer is not working, it is 5 million black money, and it will be checked by people from the relevant departments. The two had breakfast and left the fast food restaurant together. "Where are we going?" Nat asked. "I heard that there will be a circus show in the city today. I am going to check it out. As for now, let's walk around." They wandered around like this for a day, basically shopping, watching movies. Nat nodded to Nada's words. This is really a playboy who wanders around all day, doing nothing. At dusk, the two had a dinner at the restaurant and came to the circus site, somewhere on the western outskirts of the city, where many tourists came to play. There was an archer in the circus, and the hit rate of the 100 shots looked at the surrounding audience in amazement. This is Clinton Barton, 18 or 19 years old, codenamed Hawkeye. Without Yibay's sideways kick, Nat's first acquaintance with Hawkeye was in these 2 days. In addition to playing archery in a circus, Hawkeye also makes a cameo superhero, and one day when he took the stolen goods from several jewelry thieves, the police arrived and immediately treated him as a prisoner, and in a panic, he got into a beautiful woman's car and fled the scene. That beauty is the Soviet secret agent Black Widow. After seeing the other party's ability, she thinks that the other party has use value, and prepares to seduce and use him. Yibay just knew about this matter, so he came here to find Nat, although this Nat is not her Natasha, but when it happens, he will feel that there is grass growing on his head. It is better to come over in advance to destroy the acquaintance between the two, and then leave Nat around, and when the favorability goes up, directly register her as a resident of the pocket space, then there will be no problem. Episode 85. To be honest, this is the first time Yibay has come to a place like the circus, and it feels quite fresh. Compared to him, the Nat beside him seemed boring, and it was clear that all the circus performances did not attract her attention. After playing here for 2 hours, the two left. At night, the two checked into a nearby hotel suite with 2 bedrooms, a living room and a bathroom. Just inside the door, Nat asked Bo a question. Do you know about the ice pick program? What's that? Yibay asked knowingly. Nat, for the sake of your Natasha's friend, I won't pitch you either. I am an agent of the Red House, a secret organization of the former Soviet Union, because I am tired of the old life, and I want to find a place to settle down. The Red House has a plan against traitors' ice picks, which means to pierce the chest of traitors like ice picks. They will kill the traitor's family, colleagues, friends, and everyone else related to it, and then kill the traitor when he is completely desperate. If you hire me, you'll also be on the ice pick list associated with me. Nat confesses that it is actually the way, and after a day of observation, Nat believes that Yibay is a knight-type man who is willing to protect the lady. The other party recruited himself as his secretary and bodyguard. Nat did not think that the other party really needed bodyguards, since the other party knew the Natasha who was better than her, and learned from the other party that he had come to contact him. He must have known the danger. Even so, there must be some kind of ability. Oh. Yibay's reaction was flat. In fact, he knew about the ice pick plan of the Red House, and he had been with Natasha for several years, and the other party told him about the place where the Red House had been trained and played, and let him know how cruel it was. Not only cruel to outsiders, but also cruel to one's own people, and the top female agents who can come out alive from there are the top female agents. Like Natasha, like Yelena. Oh? Your reaction is too flat, aren't you afraid? Nat was puzzled. Yibay said with a smile, your equipment is a widow sting. Wait to send you a piece of the latest equipment developed by my company. It is also a widow sting. I believe that with it, you can protect me. The widow sting is Black Widow's exclusive combat weapon, which can fire bullets, miniature bombs, tear gas balls, up to 30,000 volts of electricity, and a widow hook. Nat blinked. This was different from what she imagined. How does the other party know that he has a widow sting? Sitting in the living room, Yibay took out a multifunctional equipment combining technology with enchantment and handed it to Nat next to him. Take it and try it. Nat came over to look at it. It was a silver-white carved metal bracer, and the material looked like silver. What does it do? The material is super metal, made using nanotechnology and a certain mystical means, and you know what function it is when you wear it. Yibay smiled. A piece of equipment. In fact, it was an artifact that Natasha had asked Yibay to make with technology combined with occultism. Nanotechnology can turn it into a silver-white metal armor that covers the surface of its body, and its defense is no weaker than that of Black Panther's vibranium armor. At the same time, there is also an Olympian enchantment on it, blessed with the power of Demeter, plus the speed of Hermes, plus the super senses of Artemis. Of course, with a small piece of equipment blessing so many things, the power naturally decreases, such as the speed can only increase by 3 times, and the strength is also 3 times. For Natasha, the concealed and small gear was what she needed, not the conspicuous wearing of the equipment like Diana. Nat Xian wore it on his wrist suspiciously, and was shocked to find that his physical fitness had greatly increased. The power and explosiveness of the amplitude made her feel that she could kill someone with one punch. The increased sense of hearing, smell, taste, touch, and vision made her feel that the whole world seemed to be different, and the footsteps of people walking on the streets outside and the sound of language communication were clear to her ears. She also sensed that her nerves seemed to be connected to something, and she could flip it, like a switch, and she tried to flip it. I saw that the silver-white widow sting on her wrist quickly liquefied, spreading along her skin, and in less than 3 seconds, it covered her entire body surface and solidified again, forming a thin layer of metal armor. She tried to move her body, her joints moved freely, and the metal armor did not affect her movements in the slightest. Yibai introduced to her in a state of shock, "Don't look at only a thin layer, but it is enough to resist the frontal bombardment of missiles, even in the face of nuclear weapons. As long as it is not a face-to-face explosion, it will not kill you in this state." In addition, the helmet on the head part and the armor on the arms and legs can be removed separately, and it is not visible as long as you put on a suit. Nat introduced, untying the armor of her head and arms and legs, revealing her ghostly face. She asked Yibai in shock, "Are you an alien?" "It's not." "Then how can you have such a magical thing?" "I don't believe Earth technology can make it." "You guess." Yibai wasn't ready to tell her, at least not yet. "Give me such a good thing, and you won't be afraid that I will take it and run away? This thing uses energy, and I'm the only place in the world to recharge it," Yibai said with a smile, "looking like I was sure of you." Nat Horn twitched. She could see that the reason why the other party gave her such a magical thing was to better tie herself to the other party, unless she didn't want this equipment. But how could that be? "I don't know. Now that she knows and goes, how can she give up this thing that is enough to protect herself in any situation?" "Looks like you've eaten me." "Yes," Yibai said with a smile. Episode 86. With her new equipment, Nat has not slept all night, and she is adjusting to the various functions of this equipment, also called the Widow Sting. After all, the power and speed of being increased is 3 times that of before, and if she doesn't adapt to it, all kinds of miscalculations will make her busy when encountering danger, and as a Black Widow, she will not make this mistake. Yibai didn't sleep either, just watched Nat adapt to the new weapon. As the sky gradually lights up, NT lifts the Widow's armor mode. She threw someone a wink and twisted her way to the bathroom. Such an obvious hint, how could someone not see it? So he followed and got in. Bathroom time skipped over the table. Outside the hotel, an RV drove up. The driver was a fashionable beauty. She had blonde hair and purple eyes, wearing a purple vest, black pencil pants, and a pair of high-heeled sandals. She is Yibai's purple puppet, but Yibai does not control her. In fact, she is her own activity. After all, the purple doll is also a self-disciplined puppet. She came here because Yibai told her to come over as a driver. Not long after, the two walked out of the hotel, and Nat was attracted by the luxury RV in front of him. "I haven't seen this model of RV. Which company's new brand?" "I really want to buy one." "Don't sigh, this car is mine. If you want to give you one, let's go up first," Yibai greeted. "I thought it was some passerby," Nat complained. Entering the RV, the inside looks much more spacious than the outside, because the car is enchanted. From the outside, the interior space is about 25 square meters. But after entering, you will find that there are at least 200 square meters inside, divided into several areas: cab, kitchen, living room, bedroom, bathroom, all kinds of furniture and appliances. This car was not designed by Yibai, but the mobile villa car, created by the girls in his family who were idle and bored, using their own abilities and knowledge, to drive it around camping and playing, which is a product of hedonism. In the pocket dimension space, there are 10 RVs of this model, and anyone who needs it can drive out. The appearance of the car is well camouflaged. As long as you do not invite unrelated people to get on the car, you can't see that the inside is unusual from the outside of the car. Nat walked into it and was stunned by the sunscience. It thought that the new version of the Widow Sting that Yibai gave her yesterday was incredible enough, but now she found that she was shocked too early. "Are you really not an alien?" Nat was shocked for a moment and asked the question again. "It's not." Yibai was still the one who answered. "Would you really give me a car like this? I never fail my own people." At this time, the door leading to the cab in front of the car was opened, and the puppet Purple walked out of it, and saluted Yibai very respectfully. "I have seen the master." She did another thing to Nat. "I've seen the main mother, Nat." Yibai introduced her. "Her name is Z, and she is my maid." "What is the title of the main mother?" Unpleasant asked. "Aren't the master's partners all mothers?" The purple puppet tilted its head and asked dumbly. Nat. "Ahem, Purple, you go drive, destination New York." The IQ of the puppet is really worrying. "Good host." The purple doll bowed again and turned back to the cab. A few seconds later, the car started and drove away. They are currently in Iowa, and from here to New York, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and finally to New York, a distance that spans almost half of country M. At their current speed, if they are on the road 24 hours a day, it will take 2 days to drive. It's time to go sightseeing along the way. More than a year ago, in a laboratory in S.H.I.E.L.D., a group of scientists were studying silver-white objects like obelisks. Since Nick Fury learned from the Purple Mouth that there was an Inhuman city on the moon, he began to pay attention to this matter, and he always wanted to understand the Inhumans and their attitude towards humans, and began to investigate the Inhumans openly and secretly, and really let him investigate something. According to the investigation, the obelisk was seized by Peggy Carter from Hydra Daniel Whitehall, and it was related to the Inhuman awakening ritual. Under the continuous research of a group of scientists, the obelisk was removed by them, revealing several blue crystals. After research, it was found that as long as the crystal was hit, it would turn into pure white mist. People bathed in mist will turn into stone. Nick Fury looked at the research reports of scientists, combined with the intelligence he investigated during this time. He asked these scientists to make equipment specifically to detect relevant isotopes according to the foggy characteristics of Protagonist, and then identify potential unawakened aliens on Earth, and want to form a super special combat team controlled by him. I have to say that S.H.I.E.L.D. in this period is really full of talents, and the equipment for detecting aliens was really drummed up by them, and the cost is not high at all. The volume is only the size of a thumb. Nick Fury let his subordinates produce some potential inhuman detection devices, and ordered his henchman Coulson to lead people to search everywhere. I don't know if it's fate, in the vast sea of people, Coulson first found a little girl named Sky. It was an orphan, only 8 or 9 years old, and the detection device reacted to her, so Coulson brought the little girl back to S.H.I.E.L.D. Because of something, this girl has been under the surveillance of S.H.I.E.L.D. since she was a baby, and Nick Fury learned this information and figured out many things. He used a Tarragon crystal on Sky, so the Shockwave girl was born early, and was adopted by Nick Fury as an adopted daughter and secretly cultivated. This matter was sealed by Coulson, and it was not recorded in the official S.H.I.E.L.D. archives, so only he and Coulson knew about it. None of the others in S.H.I.E.L.D. were clear. The Shockwave girl, who was supposed to establish a father-daughter relationship with Coulson in the future, has now established such a relationship with Nick Fury, which is very comic but not complete. Yi-Bai and his family, the butterfly effect caused to the world, is gradually highlighting its power. To this day, Shockwave girl has been secretly trained by Nick Fury for a year. The little girl is very smart, she can learn everything quickly, and a year of agent training has made her an agent with incomparably rich theoretical knowledge. You must know that she is only 9 years old this year, and she was trained to be like this at the age of 9, and she will have it when she grows up. Given her cleverness and the age advantage of 9 years old, Nick Fury is very optimistic about this little girl and simply cultivates her as an heir. Today, Shockwave received her first assignment from Fury. This task is said to be a task, but in fact, Fury investigates the execution of the task of the Shockwave woman, and the task itself is not difficult or too dangerous. The mission is to rely on her 9-year-old age advantage to become friends with Tony Stark's 3-year-old adopted daughter Veronica, and then monitor and protect Stark, because Stark recently made a weapon called Red Storm, which may be targeted by malicious people. Episode 87, Emma and Dark Phoenix establish a new Hellfire Club in this world, located in Manhattan. They bought a 50-story building to use as a club location, turning the interior into a veritable hedonic nest. You must know that this is the Manhattan area, every inch of land is expensive, and buying such a tall building to be a club is really extravagant. Now Stark is 18 or 19 years old, as the most outstanding and youngest genius capitalist in all of New York, his reputation as a playboy has begun to appear, and after receiving an invitation to the Hellfire Club some time ago, he has become a member who often comes here to relax. Without him, there are many high-quality beauties in this place. There are college students who work part-time as waiters here, models in the fashion industry to set the atmosphere here, and even stars in the entertainment industry. Thanks to the high salary here, plus the members are all celebrities in politics and business, some girls want to work here. High salary is on the one hand, on the other hand, girls want to climb the branch to become a phoenix. In case of being favored by which rich and handsome, won't they be able to struggle for a lifetime? These high-quality beauties who come to work are not forced to do anything excessive, everything you want. Such a place is really unimaginable in some countries on the other side of the ocean. Today, Stark brought his 3-year-old adopted daughter Veronica to play in the club, and there are indeed many fun places here, such as a small cinema, indoor swimming pool, internet cafe, and game hall on the floor of the entertainment area. For example, the dining area on the floor serves dishes from around the world. There are also presidential suite-sized suites on some floors. Of course, these things cost money, and they are not cheap. Stark is a big dog and is not short of money, and since joining the Hellfire Club and becoming a senior member here, he has spent tens of millions to book a presidential suite for 3 years. Although he brought his adopted daughter here to play, Stark did not hide his playboy side in the slightest. Veronica, who has a 3-year-old appearance, does not mind daddy here, and she runs to the entertainment area to play by herself. Little Lori knew that the Hellfire Club was where Emma and Dark Phoenix came up and was interested in it. She had just run to the entertainment area, and was respectfully presented with a bishop card representing the status symbol of the club's high-level status. The waiter guessed that this little loli may be the girlfriend of some high level of the club, otherwise how could she be sent to such an identity, which means that all consumption in the club is free, and you can get dividends every month. Lori Veronica took the card like a little adult and began to wander around the club entertainment area. I just don't know. If Tony Stark learned that his adopted daughter came to this club for the first time, she would become a member of the highest power here, not only free of charge, but also regularly get dividends? Outside the club, Yi-bai and Nat walked out of the RV, and the two changed their new looks. Yi-bai was handsome in a white suit, and Nat was in a black sleeveless low-night dress. The two walked into the Hellfire Club arm in arm, and the car left here, found a place where there was no one, and took her slowly disappeared without a trace, returning to the pocket space. A 50-story skyscraper, all used to open clubs. I think it is the most luxurious club in the world at the moment. Nat, who entered it, felt that it was her first time in a club of this size. At the place where she entered, she also saw celebrities, such as such and such a parliamentarian, such and such a sure, a director of such and such a group, and the CEO of such and such a company. Yi-bai noticed a 9-year-old loli of mixed Chinese and American race. She was wearing a beautiful outfit. Looking at her appearance, if memory serves, this is the Shockwave woman Daisy John, right? Shouldn't she be an orphan at this time? Where did she get the VIP card to come to this kind of place? NT, see that girl, give you a task to set her identity. Yi-bai was too lazy to look at the other party from the timeline, and if he wanted to meet someone, he would go and see it again. It would be a lot less fun, so simply let Nat test it. Nat went over, a little loli about 9 years old, she said confidently, it's just a little girl, watch me get her in a minute. She walked towards the little girl. Yi-bai followed the two not far away with a smile, and as a result, 10 minutes passed, and Nat was still there without a trace, and nothing useful came out. At this time, several people came to the floor of the entertainment area, and the Shockwave girl said goodbye to Nat and went to the game hall not far away, because Stark's adopted daughter was there, which was the mission goal of her trip. Nat came back. Yi-bai said, that girl is not an ordinary person. I have not tested any intelligence. This is very abnormal. I guess she should be an agent secretly cultivated by some organization. Yi-bai nodded, I can see it. It should be S.H.I.E.L.D. if nothing else. At this time, S.H.I.E.L.D. is also pursuing a low-key policy, and those who know about the existence of this organization will not say it, and no one will tell them what they do not know, so it is far less famous than official departments such as the CIA. FBI. Apparently, Nat knew that S.H.I.E.L.D. existed. S.H.I.E.L.D. has also begun to train child agents, really? Nat began to sigh again. You wander around here, I see an acquaintance, go over there and take a look. Yi-bai separated from Nat and walked into the arcade. It's 98, and there's still some market for pickup in this era. Veronica was playing the King of Fighters 97 fight on a game console. Shockwave girl saw this, sat down next to her, put in the game currency she just bought, looked at Veronica with a smile and said, little friend, you have a good game, do you want to compare? Veronica turned her head to look at the 9-year-old girl next to her and nodded, okay. The two loli played. Yi-bai walked behind the two and looked at the arcade screen. The two began to choose roles. Veronica chose Athena Amaya, Chizuru Kagura, and Fire Dance. The Shockwave woman chose Charmy, Mary Ryan, and Liana Harderan. The battle is about to break out. The two loli are not ordinary loli. The 3-year-old loli pretends to be tender. The actual age is comparable to several rounds of Chinese civilization history, and he is a very knowledgeable guy. 9-year-old Lori is a computer genius and S.H.I.E.L.D. agent who has played the game before. The two of them really can't be said to have eyebrows. Veronica discovers that she is not a female opponent of the Shockwave who is proficient in this way, and for the sake of her own face, she unleashes the magic material enemy without a trace, predicting what will happen in the next few seconds, and cheating. Her cheating behavior, Yi-bai, who was watching the battle behind, was speechless for a while. Playing a game, is it necessary to even use magic? Episode 88. Veronica fought against the King of Fighters 97 of the Shockwave woman, and Veronica, who had foreseen the future and had a head start, won as the end. This made the Shockwave woman begin to doubt life. Himself, who has participated in the King of Fighters 97 arcade fighting competition and won the championship, how can he lose to Stark's adopted daughter who is only 3 years old? Is genius really better than ordinary people? No, I'm not an ordinary person. Damn, this sets off the other party even more. Even by Ka, how can you be so powerful? Are you really only 3 years old? She looked at the 3-year-old loli next to her incredulously. 3-year-old loli said calmly, basic, this is all basic, Shockwave woman. Hi Veronica. At this time, Yi-bai's voice sounded from behind the two women. The two looked back, and when Veronica saw that it was Yi-bai, she got up with a smile and threw herself into Yi-bai's arms. Yi, why are you here? I should have asked that. Stark brought me here to play. Oh, is this your friend next to you? Yi-bai looked at the Shockwave girl and asked Veronica. Well, she's a friend I just met, called. Veronica couldn't speak, the two of them hadn't introduced each other yet. My name is Sky. The Shockwave woman said. Oh, my name is Veronica. Veronica also introduced herself to her, and then introduced Yi-bai to her. He is Yi, what's your relationship? The shockwave girl looked at the two suspiciously. If I remember correctly, Veronica is Tony Stark's adopted daughter, and Stark will allow his adopted daughter, who is only 3 years old, to drill into someone else's arms. He's the White King, one of the owners of this club. By the way, I'm the White Bishop here. Veronica got down from Yibai's arms and took out the White Bishop card, which symbolized the management of the club, and the card was made of white gold and set with 36 diamonds, shining brightly. Seeing this thing, the shockwave woman's mouth is open, and the intelligence does not say that Veronica Stark is the top of the Hellfire Club. Is this swollen? Yibai touched the head of the shockwave woman with a smile and said something that stunned her. I am Z's friend, wait for me to say hello to Nick Fury. After that, he ignored the stunned shockwave woman and pulled Veronica to play elsewhere. The shockwave girl was shocked for a while before coming back to her senses. She felt that this matter was beyond her ability, and quickly took out the satellite-encrypted mobile phone, contacted Nick Fury, and told him what had just happened. Are you saying that Veronica Stark is the White Bishop in the Hellfire Club, and the White King's name is Yibai, who knows Z and greets me? Nick Fury was also taken aback when he heard this information. Yes, Fury, can I ask who Z is? Sounds like an important person. You'll know later. The White King should be malicious and continue your mission. Okay. Hanging up the communication, the shockwave woman chased in the direction Yibai and Veronica left. The two did not go far. The indoor children's paradise in the entertainment area just entered here. Yibai was complained by Veronica. She pointed to the children's paradise and said, only 3 years old, you remember. What does it matter? Maintain a childish heart, you can live a happier life. Yibai smiled and pulled her to start playing here. The shockwave girl chased after the two at this time, ran to the two of them, and said to the two, can I be with you? Of course. Yibai was not embarrassed for this girl and nodded. On the other side, Nat, who was separated from Yibai, out of professional habits, began to wander around the various floors of the Hellfire Club, all the way to the 48th floor. The elevator can only go to this floor, and only the special elevator of the core members of the club can go to the 49th and 50th floors. Even the 48th floor, which can be reached by ordinary elevators, is not open to the public, and she was unsurprisingly stopped by two beautiful security guards in black suits here. Sorry ma'am, this floor is not open to the public. Nat said, I am a Cyprus person. Obviously, the beautiful security guard knew Yibai, and when she heard that she was Yibai's person, one of them pressed the communication headset and said a few words, and then said to Nat, please wait a moment. Nat shrugged, waiting to come. Not long after, the elevator for high-level personnel not far away opened, and Emma the White Queen walked out of it and walked to this side. She saw Nat, recognized her as Natasha's isotope, and nodded to the two security guards to let her go. Nat came over and shot Emma, long admired the daimyo, Ms. Emma Frost of Marvel Technology. Emma shook Nat and said, you are not a stranger to me, Yi and Natasha have mentioned you to me. Nat raised his eyebrows, what do you say about me? Let's go upstairs first. The two came to the top floor, which was more like an ultra-luxurious residence that turned the entire floor into a suite compared to the floors below, and there were many coolly dressed maids who took care of it. These maids are actually the alchemy dolls that Yibai refined and put here. The surrounding decoration layout is low-key and luxurious. Not far away, she also saw Natasha, lying naked on a bed over there, and several maids were giving her a full-body massage. Natasha saw her and beckoned to her, Audrey, over here. Emma said, you guys talked to her and went to the other side. Nat passed. Looking at the other party's corrupt and enjoyable look, he was speechless. My name is not really Audrey, you know. Natasha nodded, I know that you have the same name as me, and I'm afraid of being awkward when you call it, so I just call you Audrey. Call me Nat, Yi called me that. Can you explain the situation? I'm confused now. Natasha patted the bed next to her, don't you try it. Nat nodded, lifted the thing, and lay down flat. A few maids walked next to her and began to help her massage. In fact, whether it is Marvel Technology or the Hellfire Club, it is our own territory. I didn't see a man on the top 3 floors, what is Yi? Your relationship with Yi is actually the same as our relationship with Yi. So what was going on in LA in the first place? You've been eyeing me earlier? It has nothing to do with Yi, I set my sights on you. Natasha's words startled Nat, you. Don't get me wrong, introduce yourself again, my full name is Natalia Romanova, is this name familiar? No way, I'm Natalia Romanova. Episode 89. While Natasha was telling Nat about the cause and effect, Yibai, who was playing with Veronica and Sky, received another task, this time with a different type of mission than before. Mission, go people are not necessarily weak. Type, single-player mode growth mission. Introduction, if there is no system, you are a fighter in the weak chicken. Requirements, choose one of the 3 major migrant comic stories, Hokage, Pirates, and Death, and enter them to make yourself stronger. At this time, Yibai was sitting on a bench against the wall of the indoor children's playground, looking at the two lowly playing not far away, and suddenly received this task, which made him stunned for a moment. In the past, the tasks released by the system were directly rewarded, and it was the first time that this kind of task was released to allow you to study in another world. He asked the system in his mind, only me? Yes, after the host leaves, no matter how long it has been in the mission world, the return will be the next second of departure. If I go to the other side, can't I use the sharing ability? Yes, well, I choose Hokage. Yibai said. In his opinion, the pirate's power system is too single. If you eat the devil fruit for a lifetime, you will have that kind of ability. Even if you play the devil fruit ability with flowers, you can't deny that it has a single ability. As for domineering and 6 styles? Well, that's not that strong. The Grim Reaper system is nothing more than the slashing knife ghost road binding road. Although there are many tricks, the premise must enter the soul state, and the situation of having a body cannot exert much power at all. When you find someone to fight in the future, you can't leave the body first. What to do with the original body? Therefore, the Hokage system is the most suitable, and with the existence of the Philosopher's Stone, it may be possible to obtain a pseudo-infinite chakra in an equivalent exchange. The system gave him another new option. Please select a crossing method. 1 direct crossing. Over there is a black household, no identity. Note, this option starts from Shippuden, defeating Kaguya Atsuki, to return. 2 select 12 groups of characters to replace. You are still you, but you are the original character in the eyes of others. You can get all the abilities of the character and keep them when you return. Note, this option can only stay for 1 year. 3 soul wearing. The soul state enters Konoha village, randomly enters the womb of a pregnant woman, and will be born on the same day as Naruto. Note, you need to stay in the Hokage world for 13 years. After reading it, he felt that each of the 3 options had its own advantages. The first option can stay for 2 to 3 years. See the final big boss Kaguya Hime, whether you invite her to join or kill her to pick up the corpse. The disadvantage is that without the blessing of the female ticket ability, he may not be able to beat this big boss. The second option, you can stay for the shortest time, but you can obtain the ability more directly. The task is said to be the 12 small strong group. Since it is said to be a group, naturally lead the team to shinobi. The third option is to stay the longest, and for a long time, you can do a lot of things, whether it is cultivation, studying, or doing something else. Yibai prefers the second option, because the ability to replace characters is outstanding. Kiki Kakishiban, Naruto, Nezuko, Sakura, Yuanfei Asmaban, Nara Shikamaru, Akimichi Ding, Yamanaka Ino, Sunset Red Class, Hinata, Inazukaya, Oil Girl Shino, Matt Keben, Hinata Ninji, Ten, Lee Lock. Among them, it is said that the water masters ninjutsu the most. It is Kakashi, and it also comes with a Sharingan with soil. Sharingan is a burden to Kakashi, but Hibai believes that it will never be a burden to him, and he has the Ring of the Sage. Not to mention a chakra eye. Even if the 8 doors of Dunjia are this technique, Yibai can always open it after learning, and the Sage Ring can continue to treat the body without much burden on the body. Having made a decision, he said to the system in his heart, I choose the second option, the character Kiki Kakashi. Select end, crossing begins. Yibai only felt that the light in front of him flashed and he lost consciousness. When I felt it again, I found myself lying on a hospital bed with bandages on my legs and arms, apparently injured. On the index finger of his right hand, the Sage Ring began to heal the injuries on his body, and the injuries were completely healed in less than 3 seconds. At the same time, memories belonging to Kiki Kakashi kept popping up in his mind. Things that happened when I was a child, things that happened after I became a ninja, things that happened when my teammates and teachers died, things that joined the dark department. The wound on his body was suffered during the last mission, and the serious injury is not counted, and under normal circumstances, it can be healed in half a month of cultivation. In addition to these, he automatically mastered all of Kakashi's abilities, thousands of copied ninjutsu, self-created Chidori and Ratchet, and the Sharingan of his left eye. Kakashi is not from the Uchiha clan, and the Sharingan eye with his own soil cannot be closed in the state of always opening the eye, and will consume the chakra in his body all the time. However, this is not a problem for Yibai, as he thought, how much chakra in his body consumes, the Sage Ring will automatically replenish how much he wants, so that his chakra is always in a full state. Yibai was not in a hurry to get up, he still needed to test what abilities he could use now. Time in the pocket space castle area was static, Wanda and the others were frozen in it, as if sealed. Time stood still, they could not share their abilities to him, but he could take things other than people from the inside. Fortunately, the app position and reading strip transmission are still there, and they can still be meticulous. But the Godspeed force can't be used, and the system's explanation for this is, there is no Godspeed force in the Hokage world, the Marvel universe doesn't have it yet, why can I use it at Marvel? Because the universe there is all-inclusive, the upper limit of Marvel's ability to accommodate is no upper limit. Yibai, what you said is so reasonable, I can't refute it. Well, if it can't be used, it can't be used, but there is one thing he must ask clearly. I learned the power of the Hokage system, will I not be able to use it after going to certain worlds in the future? Chakra is a product of cellular energy combined with spiritual energy, which essentially comes from itself, not borrowed things, belongs to universal abilities, and is not limited by the world. Hearing this, he was relieved. He didn't want to study this hard. Once he changed his worldview, it would be abolished immediately. At the same time, he planned to give up cultivating divine speed power in the future, and he felt that the ability that could not be used in the world was unreliable. At this time, there was no one in his hospital room and no feeling of being watched. He created a mirror in his hand with the sage ring and looked at his appearance. The reflection of him in the mirror made him feel as if he had two faces. One face was his original appearance. Not quite, the left eye is a three-hooked jade riding wheel eye. This image can only be seen by himself. The other face was completely Kakashi, with a crooked forehead covering his left eye and a black mask at the mouth. Except for the face, there is basically no change on the body, and they are all wearing hospital gowns. Episode 90, Yibai was discharged from the hospital, and in order not to be seen as having his body heal so quickly, he was still on crutches. According to his memory, when he returned home, there was no one else in the Chimu family except him, and there were many ninja dogs running around the yard. Seeing Kakashi come back, Ninja Parker said to him, "Kakashi, you should stay in the hospital for a few more days. Talking dog, this is going to change the worldview. Someone is going to call monsters. But in this world, it belongs to common sense. Is it strange that psychic beasts can speak human language? Some ninjutsu is specially created to cultivate psychic beasts, such as the Yin that gives the beast wisdom, the Yang that changes the beast's vocal organ so that it can learn to speak human language, and with the wisdom beast, and then cultivate chakra, the psychic beast is born. The Konoha Inuzuka family has a similar secret technique. Their ninja dogs are bred in this way, and these few in Kakashi's family were bought from the Inuzuka family. This kind of secret technique, Yibai said that he must learn it, and he also wants to cultivate pets. Imagine if you cultivate a rabbit that has always been white, teach it to cultivate chakra, and let it learn to transform into a sister paper. Will it have the feeling of a jade rabbit? Ahem, I'm fine. Yibai didn't want to talk nonsense with a dog, and pretended to limp back into the house. Entering the door and walking into the bedroom, there was no one else here. He didn't bother to pretend, threw his crutches aside, sat down on the bed, and couldn't wait to try the Sharingan. Riding Wheel Eye is worthy of Riding Wheel Eye. It observes the world much clearer than ordinary people's naked eye observation. Using the resolution metaphor, if the normal people's vision is compared to 480p clarity video, the vision of the three-hooked jade riding wheel eye is at least 8K resolution. It can amplify nerve reflexes. Dynamic vision is extremely strong. Concentration, the world is as if slow motion under the gaze of this eye. The insight really lives up to its name. He injected chakra into his left eye, and the three jade in his eye rotated, forming a triangular sickle shape in an instant, entering kaleidoscope mode. The kaleidoscope's vision is similar to that of Sengu Jade, but it contains the Sharingan pupil technique, which is divine power. Through this Shinwei riding wheel eye, you can see a Shinwei time-space. As long as you activate the Shinwei pupil technique, you can open a point connecting Shinwei space in front of you or in the distance, and the point can be expanded into a space-time cave. Yibai could feel it, and the burden of the eyes on the body after opening the kaleidoscope chakra eye was not only the consumption of chakra, but also the physical and mental aspects. The mind will be exhausted and the body will be miserable. Not to mention Kakashi, who is not from the Uchiha clan. Even if it is a Itachi of the Uchiha clan, isn't it also physically ill with those eyes? As long as it is not the eternal eye, or has the body of an immortal, this drawback will always exist. The philosopher's ring on Yibai's right index finger, or the philosopher's stone, is constantly repairing Yibai's body. Often the burden of the chakra eye has just appeared, and it has been repaired, which makes him not feel much burden, no pain or itch. He stared at the open space in front of the bedroom and suddenly activated the divine power pupil technique. The space in front of it began to distort, and the twisted center formed a black dot, which expanded rapidly between rotations, forming a 2-meter diameter space cave in an instant. From this side, the temporal and spatial environment on the other side of the cave can be seen. The sky is dark, and below stands a square pillar of color, which is the time-space with Earth, or the time-space of the kaleidoscope chakra eye of Kamui. Maintaining this cave will consume chakra all the time, and the farther the connection, the more chakra will be consumed. Even Obito, whose eyes converged, opened his divine power between several large spaces in Kagaya's heavenly palace, and he collapsed a few times, knowing that there was Sakura who opened the Yin seal to provide him with chakra. Yibai's chakra ceiling is not high, and it is the elite level of patience, but his chakra recovery speed is almost infinite. There is no need to worry about such problems. As long as there is still the philosopher's stone in the ring, it is no problem to maintain the Shinwei cave all the time. It's a pity that this eye doesn't have the ability to blur, which is something that can only be done with the right eye of the soil. Yibai will clone technology, which is a black technology brought by the Marvel zombie universe, and he feels that it is necessary to extract somatic cells from his left eye to clone a complete Obito body and obtain the right eye. Just do it when he thinks of it. He uses the sage ring to create, and soon a clone warehouse appears. He took a little somatic cell from his right eye to get the complete DNA with soil, and then extracted some from his body. 2 copies of the gene were detected by the cloning warehouse, and the soil gene was the mainstay, supplemented by the leaf cypress gene, and cloning began. In 2 hours, the cloning was completed, and an adult body with soil was cloned. The cloning technology from Marvel is naturally black technology, no need to open another eye, cloning is directly a kaleidoscope state. Yibai gouged out a pair of eyes of the clone and replaced it for himself, and the sage ring was treated, and the eye change was successful. Riding wheel eyes, really worthy of being the benchmark in the plug-and-play world, who uses who knows. Because the clone has his own genes, his eyes are naturally the same, and the fit with Yibai is very perfect, and it can be switched on and off at any time, without the drawbacks of non-Uchiha bloodlines using chakra eyes. He took a deep breath, chakra injected into both eyes entered a kaleidoscope at the same time, and began to test the right eye. Not to mention the test process, the right eye does gain the bokeh ability with soil. With both eyes together, the feeling is different. Next is the eternal eye, which requires the eyes of brothers or sisters who also open the kaleidoscope to change eyes, but Yibai does not have to worry about this kind of problem. He used the clone warehouse to clone a body, gouged out its eyes, and sucked its pupil power into his eyes, and the eyes successfully evolved into the eternal kaleidoscope Sharingan. Feeling the greater pupil power than before, Yibai nodded with satisfaction. Sure enough, science is the primary productive force, and there is no need to gouge out the eyes of brothers. After testing the divine power of his eyes for a while, the novelty quickly passed, and he turned off the Sharingan. Yibai disposed of the clone warehouse in the house and the 2 clones that had been gouged out. He didn't want to be seen by others, and then he would not be treated as a pervert who experimented on people like the big snake pill. It was getting dark outside, and it was raining. Randomly created some food for dinner, and the ninja dogs who smelled the food ran into the house one after another, gathered around the dining table with their own care, and ate it very well, and looked at Yibai's head full of black lines. During the dinner, Yibai asked the ninja dog Parker some questions, and learned from it that the students of the ninja school class will graduate in another month. He fell into deep thought. Not surprisingly, it was Naruto who graduated this class, right? Do you want Cassie to be a guide to shinobi? It felt like a waste of time, even the tasks of Konoha Ninja he didn't bother to do, it was better to develop abilities with that bird time. Kakashi has the full attribute chakra affinity, and he also intends to use alchemy to analyze the changes in the nature of chakra and fuse them into the blood succession limit, which will take a lot of time. Sure enough, it's better to defect. And just like that, he made a terrible decision.